Well, hello everybody, it's Jimmy from Stuart Arts, and today I'm going to do my second lathe turning using the Nova chuck, the Nova G3. This will be the second time I'm using this chuck. My previous video I started off to make a bowl, but I ended up making a little canister jar thingy. Wasn't what I was expecting, and I really didn't get a chance to practice gouging out a bowl. I used Forstner bits to hollow that out. And quite frankly, I'm still a little fearful of trying to hollow out a bowl. So I've got a cutting here that I got out of the dumpster at the Palm City Millworks. This is a couple of very nice looking pieces of mahogany. They've been glued together by the millworks. The grain goes in the same direction on both of the boards. I've got it marked off. I'm going to cut it into a rough circular shape on the bandsaw, and then I'll mount it on the chuck, and I'll turn the bottom, put the little recess in there, swap it around, and then I'm going to face my fear and I'm going to gouge this bowl out. So this will be the first time I try to do a bowl. I know it's been done 1,000 times out there, but for me it's a first, and I hope you enjoy watching me struggle through this. So just to let you know what my setup is, I'm outside. That's my dust management system. I'm going to turn on a big fan over here, and that is going to blow all the dust more or less away from my shop. Alright, so we've got it into a rough cylinder shape here. So the instructions say that you want this to be a little bit concave, so that when you put your skew in there, you'll get the undercut that you need. A little further. And let's see if we can go ahead and skew this, and then I'll measure it. So just trim it up. I'll put this at, it's kind of got an undercut to it, so that the spigot, if you will, on the chuck will reach up in here and clamp this. That should do it. Real cheap tools, and I find that I have to sharpen them quite often. Dang, look at that tear out. I'll never be satisfied with that. That is horrible. Well, I sharpened my gouge and just made some really light bevel type cuts on here. And just after a couple of passes, I was able to get rid of most of that end grain tear out. That's much better. It's got a little bit, but I think that'll sand out. So I don't think I'm going to try to do much more with it. All right, I'm going to spare you the sanding. I've been through the grits and down to fine wool here, so I triple aught. But I put it on the end of this stick, so hopefully if it snatches it away from me, I won't throw it back at me. Not too happy with the end grain on this. Probably when I wax it that'll disappear, but I know it's there. It's a little bit rough on the end grain on both sides. So I think I'm just going to slather a little bit of CA in there, and then I'll sand that back, and that way hopefully I can avoid having any roughness. This is a little bit cheaty. This is very amateurish, I know. I'm going to learn, guys. I'm going to learn. I had to go through security checks because I'm going to be volunteering at hospice here, and they said the problem with older Americans is that they lose their fingerprints and they're hard to identify. I wonder if they're going to have any problems with me. Today I flipped this thing around. This is the next day. Went home, slept on it, thought about it, watched a couple of the videos, and I've got the bowl flipped over, and I'm going to go ahead and core it out. I've drilled a center hole in here and gotten it down roughly to the depth that I think I want to take it to, and I've drawn a line here on what I want the internal diameter to be. A friend gave me yet another set of cutting tools, and this was a cut-off tool here, and I took it and I turned it into a round nose scraper. So I'm going to try to scrape out the majority of this, and I may use a spindle gouge as well. So I'm going to try both of those things and see what I think is the most effective and what I think is the safest. That actually feels pretty good. bite pretty good into the wood. So I feel pretty darn good about this technique here. So I'm taking about a 1/16 inch bite with each pass. Alright, I've had to stop and sharpen. I'll tell you what, this round nose scraper got a good edge on it. It actually feels pretty good. So I've got a little bit farther to go. Maybe another 1/2 inch. It's as deep as I want it to be. I just have to clean up these edges here. I've had to practice with how I want to do the tooling on this. So it feels the most comfortable if I come over to this side of the lathe here, and I'm going to again use the round nose scraper here to get that last little bit out there. So that's a significant change in my posture, and I had to make absolutely sure I felt comfortable with doing that. So here we go. That's worked out pretty good, actually. A little bit of a bumpy spot there. I'm going to work just a little more to get that out of there, and this thing may be close to done here. I just have to clean up the rim, which has some nicks on it here. So here we go. You know, you almost do it a little bit by feel when you're doing that bottom, because it's hard to see what's going on, but it feels pretty flat now. So I think I'm going to call that good. I still have the tiniest little chip right there. Kind of excited. This is turning out pretty darn good, I think. Alright, just finishing up with a little bit of triple aught here. And it's amazing, the inside of it actually came out better than the outside did. Okay, just applying my paste wax, and we'll let that dry for 10 or 15 minutes. I think we'll start putting things away here in the shop, and then we'll come back and put a polish on it, and then we'll take it off of here and admire our results. Well, we got new sheets for our bed, and Karen said, why don't you take the old sheet and tear it up and use it at the shop? And I thought, well, I don't know, I prefer cotton towels. Then I got to thinking this might be good for doing finishing work just like this, and sure enough, it's really been excellent. This is, you know, just a linen sheet, and boy, it does a pretty nice job of friction polishing. Well, there she is. Full of flaws and imperfections when I look at it. It's interesting, it has a different look to it outside from inside. The light catches it differently. Contour is pretty close to what I wanted. There's some issues with the inside. There's this one line, I just couldn't seem to get that out of there, and I didn't want to take it any thinner than necessary. So I left it at, I think it's probably about 5/16 thick, something like that. And it feels like it's got a good consistent thickness all around it. So you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the times that I've walked through the thrift shops, and I see all the stuff that's been donated. A lot of times they have an area where there's wood, and there's always like some salad bowls or something, and they're like 49 cents each. So I've made myself a 49-cent salad bowl here. I don't think this will ever end up in the Smithsonian, but you know, I'll give it to the wife. She can put her toenail clippings in there, and just so that she doesn't ever forget who made it for her, I did go ahead and sign this. This is the tool I used. This was a cutoff tool. It was in just a super cheap Harbor Freight type set somebody gave me, and I have like 3 cutoff tools, so I just put this and I just took it down on the grinder. You know, so this is a relatively soft wood to work with, I guess, and so I did all the gouging with this thing. It worked out pretty good, so it's kind of got me thinking that I maybe want to invest in a carbide bit. Well, that's it. This is Jimmy from Stuart Arts, thanking you for watching, and I hope you'll give me a comment and a like, and consider being a subscriber.